Ahead of the Xbox One X's release, Microsoft is seeing a mix of good and bad news across the gaming industry, and here's the only weekly roundup you need. Microsoft Xbox One X 4K news: Gears of War 4 in 4K, a Quantum Break sequel, and Sunset Overdrive 2. The Xbox One X is soon due to release around the world, marking the first time Microsoft has jumped in on the mid-console cycle refresh following Sony's launch of the PS4 Pro last year. Despite this mid-generation refresh, though, Microsoft hasn't been having the best time as far as exclusive games go. There has been a lot of cynicism around the company's treatment of various studios and titles, and it would appear that the publisher is also struggling to keep games that were console exclusives on the platform. Sunset Overdrive, an Xbox One exclusive game, may well be getting a sequel. However, the sequel may not be exclusive to Microsoft's console. The original game was funded by Microsoft, and it was largely assumed that any sequel to the game would be a platform exclusive, too. However, according to a new tweet from Insomniac, it appears that the game could be coming to multiple platforms if the developer can find a publisher for the title. If Insomniac's tweet is to be taken at face value, it looks like Microsoft isn't interested in publishing the game. This makes sense with Microsoft's stance on publishing games. Recently, the company has famously cancelled Scalebound, and has made headlines for the lack of exclusives coming to the console compared to Sony and the PS4. Whilst it may seem odd that the PS4 would get Sunset Overdrive 2 but not the first game, it could be a similar situation as seen with Respawn and Titanfall. The first game only released on Xbox platforms, whilst the second game, published by EA, also saw a PC and PS4 release. It's also important to note that Insomniac has habitually been a developer who has predominantly worked with Sony and PlayStation on big game releases. In the past, Insomniac have been key to games such as the Resistance trilogy, Ratchet & Clank, with the hugely anticipated open-world Spider-Man game also coming next year. So the idea that they might look to Sony to help get Sunset Overdrive 2 off the ground isn't beyond the realm of possibility. After all, the developer isn't without their share of fans on Sony consoles. Sunset Overdrive is an open-world third-person shooter video game developed by Insomniac Games and published by Microsoft Studios for the Xbox One. It's not all bad news for Microsoft, however, as ahead of the launch of the Xbox One X around the world, we are seeing some older games get 4K updates in order to enhance the projects with the Xbox One X. One of the biggest selling points for the console is how it'll make older games look and perform even better. Well, the list goes on and on for games getting this upscale treatment. One of the most recent and better-looking titles of the bunch is Gears of War 4. The game, now a year old, has been confirmed to receive a graphical overhaul on the new hardware. It's said the game will support both HDR color and 4K resolution when playing on the new console, running campaign at 30 FPS and running multiplayer at 60 FPS. However, you'll also be able to bring the campaign up to 60 FPS as standard if you opt to play in performance mode. If you're picking up an Xbox One X, it might be worth giving Gears 4 a shot, even if you've already played it. Aside from this obvious 4K boost to a game that already looked pretty fantastic, the game has also received a lot of support from developer The Coalition this year, including new maps, new characters, and matchmaking improvements in the multiplayer mode. All in all, a very worthwhile reason to return to the Gears universe this winter. All the available screenshots for Microsoft's upcoming Xbox One exclusive for Gears of War 4. Microsoft Gears of War 4 Horde 3.0 screenshots. Finally, for this week, news from Microsoft's Shannon Loftus, who has revealed some interesting information on the state of a few Microsoft projects. Firstly, in an interview with Game Informer, Loftus noted that the Platinum-developed game Scalebound may be wasn't the right fit for Microsoft, and that's why it was cancelled. "We're not really talking about the state of the game," Loftus responds when asked about the status of the game when it was cancelled. "It was an incredibly difficult decision to make to discontinue it. Platinum is an amazing, incredibly talented developer. When we make game decisions, we ask ourselves, is this the right game? Is it the right experience? Is it the right time? And unless we can answer yes to all three, we won't continue on with the development cycle," she continued. And Platinum is obviously doing great. They came out with Nier Automata, and I thought that was an incredible game, and I'm super excited to see what they do next. Later in the interview, when asked about the amount of IP that's been added to the Xbox family since the launch of the Xbox One, Loftus seems to suggest there is still life in the Quantum Break world. "We have a few IPs that my team brought to the table over the last generation. I think Quantum Break is a really good example of a world and a phenomenon where there's still a lot of story that we can tell. Loftus also infers there might be a Record sequel on the cards. 2. Announcing Record Definitive Edition was a little bit of a signal to people that got into the world of Far Eden and fell in love with these characters that we believe that's an IP with a lot of legs. We look forward to seeing what Microsoft is working on for the future of the Xbox One. Related articles.